Right, a very good afternoon, everyone. New Age tech and how it enables cross-sector collaboration. That's a big nightmare for me, considering I'm an introvert. But this session isn't about me. It's about these four movers and shakers of their respective industries. So allow me to introduce my panelists for today. Starting from the right, that is Harry, who is the CCO of One Championship and formerly the CCO of Lazada. Harry has been tasked to digitalize martial arts in order to make it more accessible to the masses. Welcome, Harry. And then next to Harry, we have Enon Landenberg, founder and dad of Bosco, with a background of establishing the first digital marketing agency in Israel, and clearly a selfie fan. Enon is today the founder and dad of Bosco. Bosco is a parenting app that predicts threats to children and alerts parents in real time. And next to Enon, we have Pekyu, Assistant Director, System Technology Group, Panasonic R&D Center, Singapore. Pekyu leads a group of R&D engineers who have worked in delivering technologies for consumer electronics to co-innovate with customers, enterprises, and startups to develop new solutions to meet global challenges in shelter and mobility. And then next to me, I have Kunal. Kunal is the SVP, Head of Product for Asia Pacific Essence, which is a part of Group M, a global data and measurement-driven agency whose mission is to make advertising more valuable to the world. Kunal leads Essence Product Group of data science and analysts, strategists, media experience, and engineering in partnering with the modern world CMOs on the marketing playbook of the future. Welcome, gentlemen. So maybe before we, to kickstart the panel, we can have a few, you can have all of you answer this question. The title of the panel starts with the term New Age Tech. Perhaps you can share some examples of New Age tech and what you understand by that term.
Sure. Hi, everyone. For me, a New Age tech coming from an e-commerce and now a sports media background, the way we define it is any technology, disruptive technology, that changes the way or disrupts the way you consume a product or service. So for us, in a place like One Championship, which is a sports media property, we use technology like, we're starting to use technology like virtual reality for people to start consuming the content in a very immersive and interactive way right from their homes. When I was at Lazada, we, through the Alibaba technology stack, are able to integrate things like photo taking of products. So you have a shoe, you take a picture of it, and you automatically get listings of products that you can buy. So this is how artificial intelligence, virtual reality are disruptive to consume something you do in your daily life.
Okay, so I think that one of the main things that we need to consider when we're talking about new technologies is that normally technologies can be used for a lot of different uses and not only for what they were developed for. We at Bosco, we are using high-end intelligence technology to keep kids safe and not for the purpose that it was made to spy after people. And from time to time, you can see that with the use of technology and by positioning it in a different way, you can actually gain much more from the technology that was basically developed for a different field.
From Panasonic point of view, is New Age Tech. We are trying to align with our president's current release of a concept called lifestyle updates. So basically, lifestyle updates are sets of products and services that we deliver to our end consumer to upgrades, to better their way of lives. Like what we have done previously, we have been updating through products, but right now we are trying to do with products and services. And we are exploring with new companies, startups who try to disrupt in certain area to work with them and see how this can be bring back to fit into the concept of lifestyle updates. We've been working with Bosco on, surprisingly, we are both on the same stage, on family wellness. So we hope that this could be useful into our bigger concept of products and services.
It's really nice that we follow this storytelling panel. Like we believe that we are in the intelligence era of marketing. And that's a bit misleading because that kind of implies that we were not intelligent in previous eras, and that's not the point. But the notion of artificial intelligence and where that is taking us from a marketing perspective leads us to two things when we think about the future of marketing. Prediction, very, very importantly. And the second one is driving performance. And the ability for us to do that requires us to simulate. Now, what I'm really fascinated with, even both professionally and personally, is something called digital twins. It's pretty straightforward. It's a digital twin of something that exists in real form, amorphous. So a thing, a product, a process. But the ability for you to take that and simulate in as close to real time as possible what the predictive outcome could be is absolutely fascinating. And we're trying to start experimenting in more and more. What digital twins allow us to do is not only products, but you're actually taking that to the next level or next frontier, which is entire organizations. And then you can come up with really smart models and how you analyze outcomes before they even happen.
Fascinating. So in deciding the technology to use for the purpose of encouraging cross-sector collaboration, what are some factors or measurements you would suggest companies use? Maybe pick you can answer this and tell us how you measure Bosco and if it's effective or not, since he's sleeping right next to you right now.
I think one of the great measure is that the new things that the kind of products that we could see through these collaborations. For instance, that we do not know how kids will store their images. So this is pretty new to us, and we are able to discern a little bit more how the image are being captured and how we could analyze it. So this is a perspective from the end user point of view, and how the parents would like to be notified of what they are looking for. So these are the things that we think are very important when it comes to family wellness, which go very well in our lifestyle updates. As we can see that, when a family is growing from a very young family to a very old family, their needs are different. So we try to meet those demands. So in a sense that we get new data through these collaborations.
I think there are two main challenges today in the world. The first one is that we don't have enough data. The second challenge is that we have data. So anyways, it's a challenge. If you don't have the data, you know nothing. If you have the data, you still know nothing because you have too much data. I think that one of the nice things we can see with companies that are using the technology in the right way and are using the tools they are out there in the right way is that the data can tell the story. It can tell the story of your customer. It can tell the story to your customer. It can bring a lot of information, but it's very complicated to take the data and turn it into a story. We are trying to do it for parents and to let the parents know when their kids are going through bad times and where they are cyberbullied and so on and so forth. Theoretically, my mother used to know it because she used to speak with me and I used to answer. Today, my kids don't speak with me anymore. They text. So I even don't hear their voice. So I think that the main thing is how can you take the story out of the data? And this is the main challenge that we are working on.
Kunal, since you do data, maybe you can tell us how data and storytelling can come together to encourage such a collaboration to succeed.
So when you think about the ways in which, and I love what you said, Boaz, the ability for us to communicate or the ability for us to understand what communication will be before communication even happens, that is the future, that is the frontier. And we have to be really careful about this because morals and ethics and GDPR and privacy are equally important here. There are enough signals that are available that will allow you to start understanding the types of behaviors people, parents, children can exude. So I'm a little bit of an investor on this side. That's my side gig, and that gets me really excited. There's a company we're looking at based in Switzerland from my alma mater, INSEAD, where they've tried to unlock an understanding of how a child, a baby, will communicate. And baby cries. They don't speak to us. And there are 4 very specific levels of communication that they've figured out through a pattern matching software. The ability to use technology to understand and unearth what an intended consequence needs to be or an intended action needs to be is absolutely fascinating. And I think we're just in the early stages of that. The ability to convert that into storytelling is the magic of what we're supposed to be doing as an industry. And we use these platforms to not complicate using garbage in, garbage out of technology. Should I stop for the selfie too? But enhance it, and not complicate with vanity metrics, coming back to the measurement conversation that you just, or question you asked. Measurement is a little bit misleading because it can lead to a static question or a static point in time. Was this successful? Was this diagnostic right or wrong? And it's a binary yes, no. Like what you really need to think about from an organization perspective is a culture of learning. It's something that we at Essence call learning agendas. We don't stop at a campaign or a product or a process. We say for a 12-month window, for a whole year, what are the big questions we need to address? And can we learn our way through it? Can we iterate our way through it? Can we experiment our way through it? That allows us to take risks. That allows us to say it's okay to fail. We will learn from it. And it's okay to say, hey, this was successful. We didn't know it would be, and let's scale it up. So more than measurement, it's actually a learning culture and learning agendas.
Harry, do you have anything to add on that matter?
Yeah, I think when we look at in one championship any kind of disruptive technology like VR, we look at what is the impact does it make for us at scale, right? For us now, whatever we embark on from a tech standpoint should exponentially drive our metrics. So example of the metrics we look at are things like social media impressions, digital views. Just to give you a sense, today we have 300 million monthly unique viewers on Facebook. Every one of our matches, which happens every 10 days, is viewed by about 40 million plus people. And so can we really use technology to take that to 100 million in the next 12 months, 18 months? Can we go to over 1 billion monthly unique viewers on Facebook? I mean, those are the kind of things we are looking at to see how can we get our content. Ultimately, we are a content business. How can we get our content in the hands of more people using VR or any other new age technology that's available through the internet and through a mobile phone even, or even with a pair of VR goggles.
Cool. So maybe this question would be a little bit more targeted at the topic today. Can each of you think of a specific company or startup that you have collaborated with, and what technology did you guys use, or what came out of that collaboration, and did it succeed or fail in your opinion? Yeah.
On our platform, we're using a lot of high-end technologies from all kinds of things. You don't need to reinvent things that were already invented. And one of the nice things that we are doing is we are analyzing the mood of children by their tone of voice. And it's very complicated to analyze the mood of children by their tone of voice because their voice pitch changes every 3 months when they grow up as young kids. But analyzing the mood by tone of voice is something that was already invented. It was developed for intelligence users, and it's used also in the private sector in call centers. When you call your mobile operator, the machine knows if you are annoyed. If you are very annoyed, they direct you directly to a supervisor. So we took this technology from a company that is partnering with us, and we built another layer that adapts it to children. And with machine learning, we are actually relearning the tone of voice of the kids every 3 weeks and updating the model for a specific kid. So I think that if we can look on technologies not as their end solution, but as their core technology, we can take the core technology and adapt it to much more things. Okay, so you don't have the IP on the core technology. It's not so important right now because the time the technology exists is so short. You even don't have time to go to write a patent on your technology. So until you finish the process with the patent office, you have already a new technology. So I think this is the only way today you can move very fast and launch products to the market, and then we'll fix it. It's not a Japanese way to do things, but but in Israel, we first of all launch it, and then we convince the audience that it really works, even if it doesn't work.
So we don't have a company to name yet, but we are working with a number of potential vendors to deepen fan engagement. And so this constitutes multiple things. One is, what is a fan feeling when they're watching one of our pieces of content, whether it's a live match or a replay. And this can be measured in multiple ways, but a simple one is in our kind of cage side seating, we can plug some sensors into seats and kind of measure reactions, and that can help us understand what kind of emotions people are feeling and feed that into potential sponsors and so on and so forth to target them with specific products. The other thing we're doing is when people are watching at home, which is in their couch or whatever it is, what kind of analytics can we provide on a mobile device? If someone's watching on TV, what kind of second screen analytics can we provide about the actual athletes, their heart rate, or what they're going through in a real-time manner? I think this is also is one way to just deepen fan engagement, brand engagement, because live sports is just amazing for the sheer number of eyeballs it attracts, and there's a way to monetize that. So I think from both these, we want to get more fans. We want to know what they're feeling. At the same time, more fans will come if we make the content more immersive and with data, with the right analytics and so on. So that's something we're embarking on with technology and mobile devices, but also in stadium, in your seat, with sensors and so on.
From our point of view is that we are, like what Enon says, we are quite meticulous about the product we are about to release. They are very, in terms how we can make it very affordable for everybody. So there is one part that in our collaboration that we collect a lot of data that is very specific to interactions between on a video data, the interaction between peoples. There's how the children or how the kids or the teenager capture this data, the visual data, and use it, bring new insights on what kind of technology we need to deploy to make, for example, artificial intelligence much more cheaper, to compress the model to a certain extent so that we only take the most useful data out from there. So for example, you can discern between a hug and a fist fight. They are very close. But, and how the children capture all these things make a difference. So this is one of the great benefits that when we collaborate with startups, they are looking at certain unique set of data and they want certain unique results. So that I think this part is quite valuable to us because it gives us a lot of insight into what kind of data is actually coming from the consumer. Previously, we've been working with, when we are producing DVDs, Blu-ray disc, we are working with content creator, professional content creator, the movie makers, we know what kind of images that they are looking at. But on the flip side now, the consumer are creating it. And the way they create is not professional, but that's how it is. And we are able to discern a little bit more from that kind of data. So that is a kind of a uniqueness that actually we are looking out for, and hopefully we can plow back into our bigger solution in the lifestyle updates.
Globally, Deborah, there is a productivity glut. It's been happening for almost a decade now, especially in Western markets. This is a huge issue, right? For competitive companies or industries, it's a make or break scenario. We know that collaborative-driven technology and platforms can provide up to 20 to 30% uplift in efficiencies. And that, again, is a game changer for organizations, fundamentally. And for us in the services sector, absolutely game changer. So like our view is you have to drive cross-sector collaboration. And we're trying to push the frontiers between our clients, our partners and vendors and publishers, our technology players, as well as governments and institutions. We're working really closely with the Singapore government now, with the Economic Development Board. My colleague was up here, Yasser, talking about the at the storytelling panel. So I'm going to dovetail off him and give you a Google example. We have a very deep partnership with Google. And one of the things we're doing is we're trying to take their technology and come up with a model on top of it. We call it custom algorithm, which is nothing but custom code built on top of Google's products. But what that's allowing us to do is give a 7x, 8x return in efficiencies. We've proven that out when we're trying to figure out how to scale that up. And there's so many different use cases that collaborative technology and platforms can allow us to do. The one thing we don't have, and this is a very philosophical thing, one thing we don't have in life is time. Like we're always strapped for time. So if you have the ability to drive a 20 to 30% efficiency, imagine what you can do with that time. Imagine where your mind can go. Imagine what you can think about, what you can analyze, what you can ideate, what you can provide. And that's kind of the frontiers that we're trying to push. Again, it's very early days, but we're very bullish about this.
I think when we talk about collaboration, it's always, a very utopian kind of vision, right? Like, I don't have something, you have something that I want, let's work together, and hopefully we build something new. So the question I want to pose to all of you here is, have you ever collaborated with a competitor?
First of all, I think that I saw yesterday a guy here from WPP, maybe you heard about him, Sir Martin Sorrell. And as I'm coming from the marketing field, it's amazing to see companies like yours that are pure technology and data companies leading today the marketing field. Because the marketing field was such a stupid field in data analysis. They had like panels of 400 people all over New York telling the advertisers the reach of every TV show. And suddenly we know every viewer by name, and we can connect directly to him. So I think the fact that a company like WPP, I don't know, 40% of their employees today are digital guys, are technology guys, are data experts. I think this is the future of how we're going to see the collaborations. Because in the past, we used to partner with all kinds of people and fight with them all the time. And now it's part of the collaboration is already internal into the companies. So we take them in and we push it, because you were founded as a standalone company and then you acquired WPP, or the other way around, I don't remember. So one day you will. So I think that it's very complicated to point out who is your competitor today. In the past, it was a very simple thing. If you produce wheels and I produce wheels, we are competitors in the wheel field. And then suddenly came Mr. Bill Gates and said, my competitor is Parker, the one that produces pens, because I'm going to delete Parker from the world. So today, I think it's even more complicated than that, because we are working on segments that you can use them to a lot of different use cases and a lot of different behaviors. So we definitely are working a lot with our competitors, and if they are not our competitors today, they will be our competitors tomorrow. because they will see what we're doing with their technology and with their understandings, and then they will say, okay, wow, this is an amazing use case, let's do it ourselves. So it's always, it's a big change in the way we work today with collaborations and how we intake them into our products.
Harry, I think I read somewhere that One Championship is actually collaborating with UFC on something. So maybe you can share with us a bit about that collaboration.
Sure. I think at the end of the day, our mantra is to create real-life heroes and tell their stories and inspire people through those stories. And the way we collaborate with the UFC, they are a Western property. They have very different ethos. But we invite some of their athletes who imbibe our values of integrity, respect, courage, discipline, honor, compassion to join us, right? So what we've seen in the last 6 months is a huge influx of athletes coming from the UFC to join us. We're a global property. We're not just in Asia. We're probably one of the EDB of Singapore says that we're one company homegrown in Singapore that's going to be impacting several hundred countries. I mean, there are 200 countries on the planet. We're already broadcast in 150 of them. So we do want to take the best and the brightest from the UFC who embody our values. So that's the collaboration.
Nice. Either of you gentlemen, have you guys collaborated with a supposed competitor and, things worked well, things didn't work so well? What's the beef?
For us, all the time, we collaborated with our competitors, largely in the field that we need to standardize certain things like a format for media, for example. These are the area that we have to collaborate. So this is more for the win-win situation. Most likely, I think this kind of collaboration will continue, like what the delegates here mentioned earlier. There's depending on which sector, and this keep on moving. So there will be areas that, or small sector that, or large sector that we will have to collaborate in order to bring the whole industry ahead. So it's hard to say that we will never collaborate. It's almost impossible.
Right. Do you have something to add, or should we move on?
It's pretty similar to what everyone is speaking about. Gone are the days where you can live in a little island or a silo and just build on your own. We need the industry and we need sectors to come together. We have some really big challenges to tackle together. We have a privacy challenge that we have to overcome. We need regulation behind that. We have GDPR is a great first step, but it's not the ultimate step. We need to move the frontier forward, and we have to work very closely with all technology partners, not just one or two. That's just one. I think, and I'm going to speak about this a lot more as well, as many times as I can, ethics and morals have to sit side by side in your business plan with the way in which you think about artificial intelligence. You can't code morals in an algorithm. So what do you do about that? What is right or wrong? Where I can guarantee you, between the five of us, we believe our notion of right and wrong could be driven by cultural values, by personal traits. So how do you code that when it depends on one person? Should you play God? You shouldn't, certainly. But then how can you drive the ability for a machine to understand the way in which a human needs to behave? And if an industry doesn't come together to solve for this, then we are in trouble, because then you come up with many different types of regulations, which is not going to help us move forward.
Great, thank you. I think we have some time for questions. Let's look at what questions have been submitted by the audience. Right, the first one. Often the use of more advanced technology for advertising is costly. How do non-profits and education institutions approach these in a less cost-effective way?
Let me take this one. That's actually a little bit of a myth, or that's a misperception. Fundamentally, one of the great starting points that you can think about when you think about advertising, what can I do for free? What can I do without any cost? And that is real value. Fundamentally, it actually challenges people to say, okay, I don't have a big blown budget. What can you do for limited or no budget? The greatest work we've done at Essence actually has been on a shoestring budget, because it pushes us to think about things in a more innovative way. The technology that's available to us, there are many ways in which you can harness solutions. So I work really closely, again, with my alma mater, with INSEAD, to help them drive digital transformation. It's one of the big tenets for them. And you don't need a multi-million-dollar budget. You don't even need a $100,000 budget to reach this. The work that I do with startups explains the exact principle, which is what can you do for free? Then what can you do for the minimum amount of cost, maximum amount of value? Like, Harry, the way in which you guys have built one championship is incredible. Like, you all have built this organically. The way in which people engage on your platforms is an amazing success story. But you didn't start with a big multi-million-dollar budget. I can guarantee you don't have that big.
It's still not multi-million.
Exactly, right? But look at the way in which you can drive innovation. So I would like to challenge that. I think what you have to do is you have to go and talk to your partners and say, I don't have a budget. Do this for free. What is the next best thing to free? And can you show me innovation because it actually truly exists?
Thank you. Notwithstanding going viral, what do you think is a telling metric of how successful an AR storytelling campaign is?
I think that also it's actually connected to the previous question. One of the big challenges is your story. Most of the companies don't know how to tell their stories. They're not telling their story in the way that their audience is ready to receive it. They are telling it from the founder's point of view, from the technological point of view, from a solution, but people don't buy the solution. People buy what they feel about the solution and why they are buying the solution. And this is correct about a lot of things. Now, if you tell your story in the right way, if you feed the people with the right messaging, they will take it viral. They will share your story to other people because it becomes their story. And when we're looking on AR or any other technology there is out there, on TV, on YouTube, on AR, on Twitter, or anything, it's all about the storytelling. And if you have good storytelling, the medium is not the problem. Once it's a good story, people will share it. People will know about your story. And we hear all the time about all kind of small things that happen in small markets, and all the world is talking about this small, stupid thing that happened. Because someone told the story in a very right way.
Harry, do you have anything to add on, the storytelling part of UFC and how it comes alive for your audience?
Not UFC, but ONE FC.
Sorry, ONE FC.
So I mean, as I said, storytelling is in our DNA. We are storytellers. Every day we put out 50 pieces of content on social media. And that is what gets us the 300 million monthly unique viewers on Facebook, right? As one measure. I think virality is important. Sometimes when some of our heroes who came from poverty, who came after losing siblings, when they were growing up because the family couldn't afford healthcare, and we provided a platform for these athletes to, become world champions and role models for people. The content we create gets under the skin of fans. It drives goosebumps in people. Now, there is no metric to measure goosebumps, but the more authentic you are in your storytelling, I think that is ultimately what is, to Enon's point, going to drive the virality. Organic, like, shares, comments, whatever it is. And what? Sometimes some great examples we have in our own roster. One of our heroes in Myanmar, his name is Ong La Insan. The man grew up in a small village in Myanmar called Mikitina. And he grew up trained to be a beekeeper, right? So he was in the fields, he was collecting honey from bees. And today he's a world champion of Myanmar. When he recently competed in Tokyo, 10 million people in Myanmar watched him live on TV. And he is now the tourism ambassador of Myanmar. I mean, the army, the general, the Air Force heads, the Army, Navy, and Air Force heads sat him down and literally said, Ong La, you've brought Myanmar together, despite all the crises, the civilian unrest, civil war, and so on, Rohingya crisis. So through the power of storytelling, through, again, values, I think the authenticity comes through, and your impact can be much more than virality. It can be getting under the skin of people, driving national pride, getting governments interested in making you an ambassador. and ultimately inspiring people and promoting peace.
If I could just build on Eon and Harry, there's too many vanity metrics that exist. Don't get lost in vanity metrics. Challenge that notion. Like, what is the ultimate game or the ultimate aim, goal that you have? Harry wants to drive fan engagement. How are you measuring fan engagement? That could be goosebumps. That could be the amount of people who are watching the content. That is the way in which you have positive sentiment. Like, Eon is thinking about how do you get more mums to be aware of when their children are in distress? How do you measure that? Don't lose sight of what your ultimate objective is. Fundamentally, we have too many conversations where people get carried away with likes, shares. They don't matter. They genuinely don't. It's nice to have, but they're vanity at best. Genuinely think about what is that objective, what is that ultimate goal that you're trying to drive, and single-mindedly drive that. Technology is supposed to enable, that's it. Fundamentally, storytelling is supposed to get you excited. Measurement has to make sure that you're thinking about your objective in a single-minded manner.
Thank you, panelists. So I think to wrap up the session, what are the factors to ensure a fruitful collaboration? Without getting you guys to answer the question, probably we can wrap it up and summarize by saying that collaboration enables people to innovate better, brings people together, as in the story of the Myanmar's champion. And of course, collaboration isn't something that you can do in silo. You can even do it with your competitors. And so with that, thank you for your time today. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much to our panelists there.